Can language actually influence the way we see the world? I mean, what if I told you that the words you use every single day might be secretly shaping, filtering, or even completely limiting your reality? It's kind of unsettling, right? We all like to think we're fully in charge of our own ideas. But if someone else is controlling the vocabulary you use to express those ideas, well, who's really in charge?
To figure that out, we're turning to George Orwell. Now, you probably know him for his famous dystopian novels, but today we're looking at his work through a totally different lens. Think of this explainer not as some dry literary review, but as a practical, completely impartial survival guide. We're going to use Orwell's ideas to decode modern propaganda and spot manipulative rhetoric in our everyday lives.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our agenda today covers 5 main points: the decline of language, the battle against insincerity, euphemisms and propaganda, limiting thought, and Orwell's critical teaching.
Section 1. The decline of language. A reversible process. You see, Orwell didn't just view bad grammar or overused slang as a minor annoyance. He saw the decline of the English language as a symptom driven by deep political and economic causes. Just look at this quote. "The slovenliness of our language makes it easier for us to have foolish thoughts." He's pointing out this really dangerous, mutually reinforcing cycle here. Basically, our language becomes ugly and inaccurate because our thoughts are foolish. But then, the sloppiness of that language makes it even easier to think foolishly the next time around. It's a total downward spiral. But, and this is the crucial part, Orwell was surprisingly optimistic here. He firmly believed this process is entirely reversible. If we consciously fight against these bad habits, we can start thinking more clearly.
Section 2. The battle against insincerity, the great enemy of clear language.
So, Orwell noticed that whenever there's a gap between what a speaker actually wants and what they're saying out loud, language gets muddy really quickly. When leaders want to hide the truth, when they need to make lies sound truthful and murder respectable, they instinctively turn to exhausted idioms, or, as Orwell so brilliantly put it, like a cuttlefish squirting out ink. I absolutely love that visual. Manipulative communicators don't use plain, direct words. They want to blind you with a cloudy, vague ink of complicated jargon designed specifically to obscure the facts.
Section 3. Euphemisms in propaganda. Masking cruelty with words.
This brings us to euphemism in modern propaganda. Political language relies heavily on euphemisms to defend the indefensible. Think about calling the brutal aerial bombardment of defenseless villages pacification. It completely sanitizes reality. To see this dark art in action, we just have to look at Squealer, the pig from Orwell's Animal Farm. Squealer is essentially the ultimate spin doctor. When the pigs decide to hoard all the milk and apples, Squealer doesn't just stand up and say, "Hey, we're taking this because we have the power." No, he masks their selfish privileges as this noble, painful sacrifice for the greater good of the farm.
Orwell analyzes 3 specific rhetorical strategies Squealer uses to pull this off. First, he frames privilege as a burden, claiming stoical abnegation, like the pigs are eating the food out of moral duty, not greed. Second, he weaponizes fake scientific evidence, literally claiming that science proves pigs need milk for their brain work. And third, when logic completely fails, he turns to straight-up emotional blackmail. He asks these rhetorical questions like, "Do you know what would happen if we pigs failed? Jones would come back." He uses the terrifying threat of their old oppressor to just shut down the entire debate.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it physically visualizes the rewriting of truth to manipulate the masses. The original rule painted on the barn wall was plain and simple: no animal shall drink alcohol. But quietly, behind the scenes, as the pigs decide they want to drink, 2 little words get tacked on: to excess. By subtly altering the language, the masses, who just aren't paying close enough attention to the precision of the words, simply accept the new reality.
Section 4. Limiting thought. Language as the ultimate revolution.
This manipulation hits its absolute, terrifying peak in 1984. The goal of political power in that world isn't just to rewrite the past. It's to use a manufactured language called newspeak to completely limit the range of human thought. By deliberately shrinking the vocabulary down to the bare minimum, the state aims to make thought crime literally impossible. I mean, you can't rebel if the words needed to even conceptualize freedom or justice just don't exist anymore. The special function of these words isn't to express meanings, it's to systematically destroy them.
And the ideal citizen in this dystopia is a master of duck speak, literally quacking like a duck. It means spitting out articulate speech directly from your larynx without your higher brain centers being involved at all. Honestly, if you've ever sat through a meeting packed with corporate buzzwords, you've pretty much heard duck speak in real life. Orwell despised this robotic, imitative style. Because power doesn't want you to think critically, it just wants you to make the appropriate noises of conformity.
Which leads us to black-white. This is how the dystopia achieves total control. It's the loyal willingness to just say black is white, simply because the party demands it. It completely overwrites objective facts. Once you can make a person ignore the evidence of their own eyes and ears because the language dictates otherwise, well, power has won completely.
Section 5. Orwell's Critical Teaching, a toolkit for clear thinking.
So what do we do about this? Well, Orwell's work explains that this is an ongoing struggle against bad habits. Here is your personal toolkit for clear thinking. 6 practical rules for plain English. 1. Never use a metaphor or simile you're used to seeing in print. 2. Never use a long word where a short one will do. 3. If you can cut a word out, always cut it out. 4. Never use the passive voice if you can use the active. 5. Avoid foreign phrases or jargon if there's an everyday English equivalent. And 6. The ultimate safety valve. Break any of these rules sooner than say anything outright barbarous. Applying these rules cuts right through that robotic pure wind we were just talking about.
As Orwell put it, whoever writes English is involved in a struggle that never lets up even for a sentence. You see, fighting against vagueness and insincerity isn't some one-time fix. It is an active, daily choice. Every single time you speak or write, you're making a choice to either clarify the truth or obscure it. Which leaves us with a final vital question. The next time you write an email, scroll through a news article, or listen to a talking head on TV, ask yourself, are you letting the meaning choose the word, or are you letting someone else's words dictate your thoughts? Think carefully about the media you consume today, because the words you accept without question, they just might become the boundaries of your entire world.